Your Excellency, the Chair of the Africa Union, Mohamed Faki, Your Excellency, Prime Cabinet Secretary, Principal Secretary, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Naivasha. I know that you came in, some of you came in yesterday, some of you came in the day before, but let me join the many people who have already welcomed you to Kenya and welcome you to Naivasha. As Musa Faki has said, Naivasha is a place of making very critical decisions. In this Naivasha, the matters of Southern Sudan were negotiated here in Naivasha. That led to a new country called South Sudan. In Naivasha also we negotiated issues to do with Somalia. And therefore, we are in the right place to make sure that the heavy responsibility that has been outlined by our chair as we discuss this responsibility and mandate, I am very confident that we will do a good job of it. Listening to Chair Musa Faki, I almost was convinced that maybe I shouldn't have taken up this responsibility. I was wondering whether I made the right decision. Because it looks daunting. But I want to appreciate and express my deep appreciation to my fellow heads of state and government for their confidence in assigning me the task of finalizing the outstanding institutional reforms of the Africa Union. I recognize the admirable effort and progress made by my predecessor in this very noble task and sincerely thank His Excellency President Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, for his exemplary delivery of reforms so far. I am honored to have this chance to build on his good work and commit to expeditiously advance the remaining reforms to their logical conclusion with your support and the support of many others that we will gather along the way. We all know that Africa is endowed with abundant potential that largely remains untapped. And this denies our continent immense opportunity in various economic sectors, in agriculture, in mining, in energy, in manufacturing, and also in climate action. I think it is correct to say that Africa cannot continue to play in the periphery. This is an inflection point in world development, and Africa must take up its central role because that's where we are today, with enormous resources in energy, especially renewable energy, with almost 60% of the world's arable uncultivated land, and with our huge demographic dividend of young people in this continent. It is not possible for us to continue to be in the margins. And we must not marginalize ourselves to the margins. We must drive ourselves to the center. And that is why it is necessary for us to build the institutions, especially the Africa Union, so that we can use it to position this continent appropriately. Under the Africa Union Agenda 2063, we have a coherent pathway to unleash this potential and propel the continent into the league of highly developed societies within a few generations. To do so, we must intentionally and deliberately align our foremost Pan-African institution with the continent's aspirations and reconfigure it to become agile and responsive. And this is the work and the assignment that we have. And ladies and gentlemen, let me say this, that we have a historic opportunity to reform the African Union and make it fit for purpose in light of the collective developmental issues and aspirations of our continent. We must execute this reform with resolve and a sense of urgency commensurate with the magnitude of our challenges, potential, and ambition. Africans are highly enterprising. We have a huge, educated, young people, skilled and youthful, and are ready to play their part in developing our continent. We must not let them down, and we must not keep them waiting. I appreciate the effort that has gone into achieving the reforms made so far in the AU. As a result, decision-making at the AU Assembly has been streamlined to achieve significant clarity and economy. Similarly, the structure and mandates of senior ranks of commission has been aligned and cemented with rationalized selection modalities. Additionally, the AU's commission organs and specialized agencies have also been restructured. The new Partnership for Africa's Development has been transformed into the Africa Union Development Agency, ushering in a new era of ambitious pursuit of shared prosperity. Likewise, 42 out of the 55 institutions have been analyzed and reviewed, while the structure of the Commission has been fully reviewed and approved by the Executive Council. As Musa Faki has told us, there is some work to be done by other institutions to make sure that what has been agreed upon is progressed to conclusion. A new AU for a new era is beginning to take shape, and the next phase of reforms, which I am privileged to lead, will complete this exemplary work. A critical reform that I shall focus on is the division of labor between the member states, the African Union, and the regional economic communities, as well as the AU specialized agencies. Particularly, there are functional overlaps that urgently need resolution to enhance our union's operational efficiency. Economists have predicted another year of slow growth in the world in 2024, meaning that budget constraints will continue to limit our capacity to execute the AU Agenda 2063. There will be no resources to waste, and greater efficiency is imperative. We cannot afford to spread our meager resources too thin across institutions that perform overlapping functions. As I said during the IDA 21 Replenishment Summit in Nairobi, as African heads of state and government, we are strongly committed to reforming the Africa Union Commission to make it fit for purpose and to empower it with the capacity to engage the rest of the world on behalf of the 1.4 billion people in this continent. At the same time, it is time for us to reform the Pan-African Parliament to enable it exercise oversight over the AU Commission to make it much more accountable and to finally establish an African Court of Justice. let me put this in context. I have had occasion to have a conversation with Dr. Kaberuka on AU financing. I have had occasion to engage with Professor Mkoko on this reform process. And as I have said, I am very confident of what President Kagame and this team have achieved so far. What is remaining, in my estimation, is about 4 areas that I intend that we will, all of us, focus. Number 1 is the AU Commission. As Musa Faki has said, there is need for greater internal efficiency and alignment so that we have a fit-for-purpose Africa Union Commission that delivers on its mandate without blockades, roadblocks, and unnecessary bureaucracy that is limiting its ability to deliver at the moment, and to align it with the other institutions so that we do not end up with a dysfunctional commission. There is need for us to have a conversation as member states. And there is need for us to agree that we need to give the Commission sufficient power, donate sufficient power and authority to the Commission to be able to act on our behalf. We cannot have an organization that we have appointed. We cannot have a commission that we have appointed, that we pay for, and we have denied them the authority to execute the mandate for which we have set it up to achieve. We must make up our minds that if we have set up this institution and we have given it a job to do, we must give it the power to do it. We must give it the authority to do it. Number 2 is that every institution must be held to account. And therefore, the accountability mechanism is also going to improve the quality of service that we will get from the Commission. As it is now, the Pan-African Parliament is an advisory organization, doesn't have authority to interrogate the budget, doesn't approve some of the appointments of the institution, does not, participate meaningfully in the governance of our organization. And we need to interrogate whether the 275 members is not too big an organization for us to fund, and whether we should rationalize the size of the Pan-African Parliament and give it sufficient work and mandate and authority in line with the constitutive act of the Africa Union. Like all democratic institutions, for example, in Kenya today, there's a big debate in Parliament because it is our belief in institutions. We have an executive that proposes certain measures. The people and Parliament interrogate it, provides oversight. And we have a judicial system that also makes sure that if there are any issues, the judiciary can speak to those issues. So our Pan-African Parliament must take up a proper place in the governance of our institution so that we can guarantee ourselves that these institutions will work accountably. Listening to our chair and the obvious and sometimes, unavoidable conflicts between different institutions and even the overlap that is there. There is no mechanism that is in place to resolve some of these conflicts, some of the overlaps. And that is why it is absolutely necessary for us to finally establish the African Court of Justice. That way, if there is a conflict between the PRC and the Commission, the court should be able to resolve that and to provide guidance that in accordance with the Constitutive Act of the AU, this is where the mandate of the Commission ends, this is where the mandate of the PRC begins, and this is how it should go forward. At the moment, there is no mechanism. And all the time, it is then referred to heads of state. And it becomes very difficult because the heads of state are not a court. So these are some of the what is limiting our institution. And an Africa Commission, an AU that is not properly functional, undermines the potential of our continent and the opportunities therein. And so, finally, the fourth issue is how to finance our organization. And that needs to be a very candid conversation. I have had occasion to discuss with many of my colleagues on this subject, and everybody seems to agree that we need to take a firmer position in funding our organization and working with others so that we can achieve our aspirations. Let me say this, that many of the threats and challenges we face are complex, dynamic, and global in nature, calling for collective action on an unprecedented multilateral scale. Africa is committed to making its critical contribution not only to human progress, but also to efforts to find solutions. Because of our unique and abundant resource endowments and productive potential, our continent offers a viable and transformative pathway to a future of prosperity for all of humanity. We bring to the table of multilateral strategic deliberation and global problem solving the promise of unlocking an unprecedented era of global economic growth and prosperity. I have had the occasion in a number of forums across the continent to outline the outstanding reforms which, in my considered view, shall be key areas of focus for me to deliver on my mandate efficiently. However, this outline, as I have told you, the 4 areas: to reform the Commission, to work on our Parliament, to make sure that we have a court, and to ensure that we have a proper funding mechanism. This outline is indicative, and I remain open to consultation and deliberation. I am confident that you have deliberated vigorously and exhaustively on various priorities, and I am interested in tapping into your extensive operational experience in AU institutions to enrich and refine our reform agenda and to explore innovative and inclusive ways to take the AU to the next level. I intend to work systematically in building on the substantial work accomplished by His Excellency President Kagame, and further, I shall focus on establishing a robust and sustainable funding mechanism for both the AU regular and other programs. Let me also confirm that when we talk about potential, when we talk about, for example, renewable energy potential, in this town of Naivasha, we just signed with that potential will not be realized unless we organize ourselves appropriately to tap into the opportunities that the enormous resources we have present. Let me also give you another example. About 30 kilometers from here, we have 5,000 acres that we are in the process of developing with Afri-Exim Bank to unlock the industrial potential and manufacturing capacity using renewable energy in this county of Nakuru. Afri-Exim is a Pan-African institution, and therefore it speaks to the kind of potential that Africa Union has in working with us to unlock the potential that exists in our continent. Building Africa Union institutions, including financial institutions, including other institutions, will help us unlock this potential. And therefore, let's work together in recognizing the importance, urgency, and the weight of expectations and the transformational implications of the work of reforming the institutions of the Africa Union. I am confident that I can rely on you individually and collectively to contribute meaningfully to taking the reform agenda forward and actualizing the dream of the Africa Union for our time and for generations ahead of us. I wish all of us success in our continued deliberations on this very historic agenda. Thank you very much, and I look forward to us engaging.
Put our hands together once again for His Excellency the President.